The warmest of greetings to you, and welcome to Happily Ever Teaching. This is the podcast to help you enthrall your learners in every subject under the sun using the best teaching method known to science, storytelling. To do this, we feature special guest educators who are passionately keen for your children to become amazing and successful human beings. I am storyteller Chip Cahoon, and with me today is...
Hi, I'm Helen. I teach just outside Milton Keynes, and I'm currently teaching reception in Year 1.
And today we are seeing what art we can create with a witty folktale found all around the world, adapted by us to be set in medieval England. You can listen to the story by downloading our sister podcast, Fables and Fairy Tales, or search our website, epictales.co.uk, for The Dragon's Heart. There you'll find a video of me telling the story that you can share with your children. And if you sign up as an Epic Educator, you'll also get a copy as an ebook or paperback illustrated by the magnificent Maria Coelho, as well as the full audiobook for you to download at any time. There are even some tips for telling the story yourself, and a whole heap of resources to go with the lesson ideas we're about to discuss, including any extra lesson ideas that we don't have time to fit into this podcast. Right now, though, let's continue our discussion with Helen, not Rob, sadly, who has been with us for most of the last 2 weeks, but has had to step out of this one because he's off to play tennis, which is fair enough. But we're looking at some art today. Let's see what. Well, we'll start with your age range then, Helen, and then we'll touch upon some of the ideas that Rob left us for ages 7 to 11. So, starting with ages 4 to 7, where would you find the art in this story?
I would find the art in the shiny green dragon. A very simple place to start. I mean, who doesn't want to do some dragony artwork in an afternoon? Again, two quite simple ideas, but ones that are effective and are important for children's early art skills. And first is this colour green. So the children they need to learn primary and secondary colours. So I thought it was a great opportunity to explore what a primary colour is, how to create the secondary colours, and creating different shades of green within that.
Yeah.
So you could have for them printed out if they're younger, or the older children could draw maybe 3 or 4 different dragons, and then just explore colour mixing. How can they make shades of green? What effect does it have if they have more yellow or more blue? And it's, again, like I say, it's quite simple, but quite an effective way to look at colour mixing and the names of colours. Alternatively, but similarly, I try and teach my children to paint using different shades within one picture. So, they have one big green dragon, but once they've painted it green, teach them how to add some darker colours to add effect.
Yes.
And maybe do a lighter green belly on the dragon. So different shades of green within one dragon picture as well. And
to give it that sort of shiny effect as well,
yes.
Sort of putting brighter colours on the highlighted features of the dragon. And yeah.
So the colour green, you can get a whole lesson out of the colour green. And then the other descriptive word for this dragon is shiny. And who doesn't like doing shiny artwork? It's really good for the children to learn collaging skills. So I thought a great opportunity to collect lots and lots of shiny paper, shiny sweet wrappers, cellophane, all of these shiny materials. Also a slight science link, materials that are shiny. And then to create a collage of a dragon out of these, either in groups. I sometimes find that giving children each their own collaging activities to do can take up a lot of time, and with younger children, they can run out of energy for it. So sometimes if you do group work or whole class work, you could even use recycled materials to do a sort of recycled artwork project to create a collaged, shiny dragon piece of art.
And when I've done this sort of activity with schools before, I found this is a great kick-off activity for other art activities such as drawing. So because then you've got a model to draw, you've got something that you can focus on to draw. So if you make something with collage or recycled materials first, you can use it as a way of getting some great two-dimensional drawings from your young learners, and they can put the model or the artwork in different angles, so they can try drawing from different angles. Because I expect most children, when they think of a dragon, that they'll usually draw them from the side or some sort of profile.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you want to try and help your young learners figure out how to draw things in 2 dimensions but to look like they are 3 dimensions, just move a model around and get them to draw it from that particular angle. And it can also lead into literacy activities as well. Once they've got the physical thing before them, it may be easier to come up with their adjectives to describe it, or their written work to actually include it.
I really like that idea of having a model dragon in the middle of a classroom, actually, so the children can draw from different angles. I hadn't thought of that one before. I mean, depending on how long you've got, you could find a model dragon from somewhere, or the children could create like the little clay models.
Yeah.
Dragons are a great shape for children to do clay sculpting from because of all the features they've got. So they've got that one solid body, but you've also got wings to add and tails to add, detail on the scales and on the belly and on the face and the ears. You can create some beautiful dragon sculptures out of clay, and then you have the children draw their own models from different angles. Yeah,
which links, I think, quite nicely to the idea that Rob left us with for ages 7 to 11, which was actually how to draw a dragon or a knight. And obviously when you're helping children to compose a drawing, they need to think about the shapes that are involved. So, you got a sort of roundish shape for your head, haven't you, or an oval, and longer ellipses for arms and legs. And it's how you kind of construct a skeleton for your character or your artwork to start with. Again, having a model for that really, really helps. And I've seen artists do this as well. I have a friend who is a comic book illustrator. I have several friends who are comic book illustrators. I'm sure you do, yeah. I've observed one of them working, and what she actually did was, she got someone to stick a hand in front of her, and she used that to effectively model the position of the hand. And when she then drew it, it looked nothing like the hand that was in front of her, because she was wanting to get the hand of a particular character who had more slender fingers, longer fingernails, warts and detail in other sorts of places. But the actual shape allowed her to just map out that skeleton in the first place, which she could then craft all the other detail around. And something I've done recently with my class, actually, and I think it's a really good way to teach children to draw, is using those basic shapes first. So we were drawing some trolls. We were doing the 3 billy goat scruff, and I just noticed that their drawings of trolls, I mean, they're 4 to 6 years old, so they're sort of stick legs, stick arms. So I actually found a YouTube link so I could have it up on the big screen, and it was drawing exactly as you said, a circle for a head, a circle for the body, adding 2 hands, adding 2 ears, just a little bit at a time, getting the children to slow down with their artwork and getting them to do those basic shapes first and then add the detail. So yes, that can be done with 4-year-olds as well. Yeah. They were so proud of their artwork because they'd taken that time and they realized they could actually create a very high quality piece of art. Yes, yeah. And that's a lesson that can then carry over to every other subject, because they'll be more likely to get their answers right in maths if they slow down and take their time. They'll be more likely to create amazing pieces of writing if they slow down and take their time. So yes, there's a lot of value in that lesson. Absolutely is. Before we finish up this week, I should also record a huge thank you, Helen, and also Rob, who I know isn't here now, but it's thanks to him as well for inviting us into your school to record the story of Sir Philadred. So folks, when you're watching the story of Sir Philadred, we actually have the wonderful story tree as our background that Helen has in the corner of her classroom. So maybe people can draw some inspiration from that as well. I hope so. That was my reception children you had, wasn't it, for that story? They absolutely loved it. They talked about it a lot. They've asked if we can tell it again. So I shall have to try and tell it, although I won't do nearly as good a job as you did. I'm sure the children will do you extremely proud. Sadly, that's all we have time for in this episode, folks, and indeed this story. If you'd like to talk to us about anything you've heard in this podcast, or if there's a subject you're soon to teach that you'd like us to cover, you can find us on social media using @TeachHappily, or leave us a review using your favourite podcast app. Please also share this podcast with your colleagues and help us start a story-led revolution in classrooms around the world, so children everywhere can learn in a way that's effective, memorable, and enjoyable all at the same time. We'll be back next week on board a pirate ship full of learning outcomes, aided by some magical mermaids and the Irish legend that was Grace O'Malley, the pirate queen herself. But right now, it only remains for us to say cheerio, and we hope to hear your story soon. So, Cheerio! And we hope to hear your story soon.